Good evening to everyone. My name is Nimisha, and on behalf of ISSA, we welcome you all to our first cybersecurity event. I hope you all are doing well and excited for this. In today's advent of cybersecurity, we will be covering topics from basics and concepts that you will relate to and understand from like very basic knowledge. And we are very glad to have people from almost all the branches and from different colleges. And I'm hoping that you all learn something and stay tuned with us till the end as we have really interesting stuff so that you get to practice your skills and learn and take cybersecurity seriously as a career or as your passion as a hobby. And I hope you all have installed the software. Basically, cybersecurity is very like huge domain and very wide. And to start off with, we have decided like few topics which you would be able to practice after going through the meeting. Like it'll be like 1.5 hour or 1 hour. We'll try to cover it, and then even if you are not able to relate with it, we have the session being recorded. We'll send you the recordings so that you can practice. And this will be a proper hands-on session. We'll be going through a few attacks and defense, and we'll be covering few platforms where you can practice your skills. And one more thing. Uh, um, Okay, so this is the first of a kind event in NIE, like starting with the cyber security, and ISSA is starting with it. So, without wasting any time, we'll start with. I would like to introduce Aman and Saurabh. They are part of the ISSA technical team. They would be guiding us through the whole event, and yeah, and I hope we all turn out to be white hat hackers and not black. So, over to you, Aman.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. Hello everyone. My name is Aman Kumar and I am from ISC 5th Sem. So from class 12th, I was always been interested in cyber security and I always wondered how hackers hack or how hackers attack these systems. And over the years, I have learned many of the attacks. So today I will going to show you one kind of attack, which is man in the middle. And I hope you will enjoy this meeting. Thank you. Over to you, Nimisha.
Yeah, you can introduce yourself.
Hello, this is Saurabh Kumar. I'm from IIC NI second year student. So starting from first year, one of my friend introduced me to this topic called cybersecurity, and from then on, I was most of the things were self taught, what basic concepts are all. And today I'll be showing you some basic tips, what all you have to do in the cybersecurity and what passionate forms you can enrich in the cybersecurity. Okay.
Okay, and please don't expect us to show you like how to hack Facebook, Twitter, or something like that. Yeah, and even if you are not able to relate with what is going on the screen, what is going on the screen, please have patience because it's all about exploring and learning by ourselves. We'll be just guiding you, and we hope. And please put up your queries in the chat box. We'll be taking it up. Yeah. So over to you, Man. You can present your screen.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
Uh, yeah, it's loaded.
Okay, okay. So we are going to talk about man in the middle attack today, and let me introduce to some uh, basic important concepts so you can relate to it easily. So I will start the presentation. Okay, so before starting man in the middle attack, we will learn some few important networking concepts. So I'll start with LAN. LAN stands for local area network. It is a computer network that interconnects computer within a limited area, such as residence, school, hostel, university campus, etc. So basically, if you're using a Wi-Fi in your home or in your hostel, so it's basically a local area network. Then comes the network packet. So in computer networking, a network packet is a formatted unit of data carried by a packet switch network. And a packet consists of control information and user data. So in simple words, in a network, the data, user data is transferred through packets. So third concept is IP address, and an internet protocol address or IP address is a numerical label assigned to each device connected to a computer network that uses the internet protocol for communication. And an IP address serves two main functions: host or network interface identification and location addressing. So IP address comes in two types, IPv4 and IPv6. So IPv4 looks like this. It is divided into four groups, and IPv6 is a new concept. It is divided into 8 groups. And remember that IP address ranges from 10.0.0 to dot 0 to 10.255.255.255 or 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255 or 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255 and 224.0.2.0 to 239.255.255.255. These IP addresses are normally used inside a network, not outside the network, not your global IP address. So I will show you something. If you type my IP in Google, so here you can see this IP address is my global IP address, and you can track my location through it. But you cannot track my location through IP address like 192.168.0.1. You cannot do that because it is used inside a network. It is not used outside the network. So last one is MAC address. Just a second. MAC address or media control access is a unique identifier assigned to a network interface controller for use as a network address in communications within a network segment. So MAC address of a network interface card cannot be changed. So MAC address are hard coded and they cannot be changed. Okay, so we'll know about the man-in-the-middle attacks. So MITM stands for man-in-the-middle attack. It is a type of cyber attack in which the attacker places itself in the middle of an ongoing communication between two parties. And if done properly, the attack makes the connection vulnerable to not only sniff through the packets, but also modification of the packets and whatnot. We'll explore that in practical. So one example of man-in-the-middle attack is ARP spoofing. So here you can see this is the visual representation of a man-in-the-middle attack. You can see here a computer and the internet, and between these devices there is an hacker which modifies the connection, and what is going on that the connection is going through the hacker's computer. So the hacker can easily modify the network packets, easily see the user data, what the user enters in the websites, etc. Okay, now we will come to the ARP spoofing, but before ARP spoofing, we will know what is ARP. So ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. It's a simple protocol which is used to map IP address of a computer to its MAC address. And also remember that communication inside a network is carried out using MAC address and not IP address. IP address is for identifying the computer inside a network. And the next slide, I will demonstrate how ARP works. Okay, so this is the simple network scenario. You can see here in the red computer, it is a device A, which is hacker computer, and others are device B, device C, which is also a victim, device D, and a router. So in order to know the MAC address of my victim, let us assume that I have the IP address of the victim and I don't know the MAC address of the victim. So what will I do is I will broadcast a message that who has this particular IP address. So after I broadcast it, the broadcast message goes to all the devices in the network, and those devices which do not have this IP address will simply ignore this request. Only the victim or the device C here is going to respond back because it has this particular IP address. So here you can see the device C has this particular IP address, and it will respond back saying, hey, I have this IP address and my MAC address is this. So this is a normal ARP protocol happens inside a network. And also remember that all the device in the network maintains their ARP table, which maps the IP address of devices to their MAC address. Each device has their own ARP table. Okay. So we'll know about what is ARP spoofing. So in computer networking, ARP spoofing is a technique by which an attacker sends spoofed address resolution protocol messages onto a local area network. And generally the aim is to associate the attacker's MAC address with the IP address of another host, such as default gateway or router, causing any traffic meant for that IP address to be sent to the attacker instead. We will talk about that. Okay. So here is the normal typical network scenario. We are not hacking anyone. We are this scenario doesn't hack anyone's computer. It's just a normal scenario. In this, we have a hacker's machine and we have a victim machines, and we have a router. So in the normal network scenario, I'm gonna send my request to the router, and the router will forward it to the internet. Then after the internet responses, the router is gonna forward the response to my machine. Also, same goes with the victim machine. Victim going to forward the request to the router, and the router, after receiving response from internet, it will forward the response to the victim. Now in ARP spoofing, in ARP spoofing, what I'm going to tell the victim is, listen, I have the router MAC address. Please associate your ARP table with the router IP address with my MAC address. And at the same time, I will going to send a response to router that I have the victim's MAC address, and please associate your ARP table with my IP address. So what happens is this both victim and router will associate their ARP table, and they will associate the victim, the router will associate the victim's IP address with my MAC address, as well as the victim will associate its ARP table and change the router's MAC address, change the router's IP address with my MAC address. So essentially, I will be in the middle of the connection. So here you can see now the victim will forwards its request to the hacker, and hacker will forward this request to the router. So essentially, now I am in the middle of the connection. So what I can do now is I can modify the request the victim sends to the internet, or I can read the login credentials of the victim if the victim is going to enter any its login credentials to a website. So I can do that easily. And so we will talk about why ARP spoofing is possible. And so because ARP's address resolution protocol is a very simple protocol, and it has some loopholes. And what the first loophole is, the clients inside the network, they accept responses even if they did not send a request. So I can send a response to anyone's device, and the clients and the device which accept this responses, they will have to accept this. They cannot decline it. And also the clients trust the responses without any form of verification. So I can send a response to anyone's computer that I am at this IP address, and they gonna trust this response. They are not going to verify it. So that's the whole scenario about the ARP spoofing. So this is all about the theory. Anyone has doubt? If not, we will go to the practical. And before the practical, let me tell you something. In virtual machine, if you when you install Kali Linux, just go to the settings and go to the network part, and make sure that this attached to option is selected at bridge adapter. If you gonna encounter that it is NAT or NAT network, please change it to bridge adapter. What's the difference between is, if you configure it to NAT network, the virtual machine is going to consider your laptop, your machine, original machine, as the gateway, as the router. So we don't want that. We want to target real machines. So make sure that this attached to option is selected at bridge adapter. Okay. Okay, now I will start my Kali machine. Okay, so
Hello, sir.
yes, yes.
I have installed my Kali Linux in virtual machine. Can I do it with virtual machine?
Yes, you can do it. If you do not have face any problems while executing commands, then it's okay. If you face any problems, or if your network is slow or whatever, you can watch the recording, so you can try it later. No problem over there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So I will start my terminal here. Okay. So this is the Kali Linux terminal, and just gonna zoom in. Okay. So here's the terminal of the Kali Linux. Kali Linux is just a flavor of a normal Linux operating system, and it is specifically designed for hacking, hacking and penetration testing. So if you don't know about Linux command, let me just show it to you. Just some basic commands. So to see the file system, to see the files inside a directory, you type ls, and here you can see these are the files inside my root directory. So if I want to know what is my directories, present directories, I type pwd, and here you can see /root, which means that I am in my root directory. Okay, and if you want to create a directory of your own, you can do it by mkdir, and then your directory name, let's suppose dir1. Okay, so the command get executed, and then you can press ls to see this dir1 here highlighted. It's created. So if you want to navigate to the dir1 directory, you just type cd dir1. So here we have navigated to our dir1 directory, and if I want to make another directory inside that, I will simply write mkdir dir2. So if I press ls, you can see dir2 is created. Now if I want to move one step back, one directory back, I will type cd space dot dot. So now I am in my root directory. If I type pwd. Here you can see I'm in my root directory again. Okay, so this is the normal functions of ls command, and if you want to explore more, you can just type man ls. This is for ls manual. So if you press enter, just a second. Yeah, so here you can see the manual of the ls command. Here you can see all the options like -a, minus capital A, -b. There are so much options in ls command. If you got time, you can explore that. I will press Q to execute it. And now I want to clear my terminal. I will type clear to clear my terminal. Okay. Now we'll talk about the BetterCap tool. The BetterCap tool is used to it's used in ARP spoofing. So we will start that BetterCap. To start that BetterCap, you obviously need to install it. So before you install it, I will suggest you to update your Kali Linux machine. So to update your Kali Linux machine, you will type apt update. So it will update your Kali machine. And when I press enter, okay, oh, I misspelled it, sorry. Yeah, so here you can see it's now updating. And to if I want to, cancel this process, I will simply press Control C. So here you can see this process is now closed. It has been terminated. Now we will. So when you install BetterCap, make sure that you update your Kali machine. My Kali machine is nearly up to date, so I don't need that. So I will clear that. Okay. Now we will install BetterCap. To install BetterCap, you will press apt install BetterCap, BETTERCAP. Yeah. So you type this and press enter. So here you can see it's already installed in my machine. But when you install it your own Kali machine for the first time, it will ask an option to install it or not. Press Y and then press enter. The BetterCap will install. Okay, so I will clear that machine. Okay, now we will start the BetterCap. And here you can see this is my target Windows machine. I have installed Windows as a separate virtual machine. I will target this. So just a second. Yeah. So to start BetterCap, we'll simply type BetterCap -iface. It's an option in BetterCap. Just a second. Yeah. iface ETH0. What is we mean by iface and ETH0? We will talk about that. Yeah. So if you want to know what is your IP address of your Kali machine, you just type ifconfig, and here you can see we have two interfaces, ETH0 and LO. ETH0 is our main interface. Here we surf our through this interface we surf our internet. So here you can see I highlighted this inet 192.168.1.45. This is the internal IP address of my Kali machine, and here you can see ether 08002721E928. This is my MAC address of my Kali machine. Okay, so remember that if you want to check your IP address of your Kali machine, you press ifconfig, and then the inet part is your IP address, and the ether part is your MAC address. Okay, I'll clear this. Close. So I will start BetterCap in this. And if you want to know about more BetterCap, you can simply type bettercap --help. It will show. Just a second. Yeah, so here you can see these are the options in which the better cap comes. And here you can see the iFace part. It says network interface to bind to. If empty, the default interface will be auto selected. Okay, so I will clear this and start the better cap minus iFace ETH 0. Okay, so the better cap has started now. Okay, so what we'll do next is we check what are the modules inside the better cap by pressing help. So here you can see there are so many modules in the better cap. So only one module, that is events.stream, is running. This module helps to facilitate the other modules to function. And here you can see the ARP spoof module. Here you can see net.probe module. Here you can see net.recon module. There are so much modules. We'll explore few of them which are used in ARP spoofing. So to start ARP spoofing, we first need to identify all the devices in our network. How do we do that? We'll simply type net.probe on. It will start probing our network and will discover the devices connected in my network. Yes, yes, yes.
Sir, I haven't installed this better cap. Simply pressing dot 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 dot.
Listen,
I'm not pressing it.
if you haven't installed the better cap, you can simply write this command apt install better cap, and it will not take much time. You can install it right away, or if you don't want to install it, then you can just watch my video, and the recordings will be uploaded in our website, so you can watch later on. Okay, is that clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay. I will close it. Okay. Okay, so it now start to exploring the device in my network. And if you want to see in tabular mode, you will type net.show. So here you can see these are the devices in my network. You can see at 192.168.1.1 is my gateway. And here is, you can see the device which I'm going to target. It is at IP address 192.168.1.41. And here it is the MAC address of my target device. So if, oh, I'm sorry, it's shutting down. Just a second. I will restart it, my computer. Here you can see I lost my endpoint. Just a second. I will restart my machine. Okay, I'm gonna restart it. It will take some time. Just a second. Okay, so it's restarting now. And if you want to see how you install Windows, separate Windows in your virtual machine, we'll post a link to that YouTube link, so you can just watch it and download the virtual Windows. And it will be good if your device has 8 gigabytes of RAM, because if you have 4 gigabytes, then You can perform the attacks, but it will be much slower because you have to now give 1 GB each to your virtual machines, and uh, and make sure that when you assign RAM to your virtual machine, it doesn't exceeds the half of the uh, RAM available in your original computer. Just a second, it is starting. I have assigned 2 gigabytes of RAM to both of the machines. So it will take some time. It is running slow. Sorry about that. Okay. By the time I will exit the beta cap, I will restart again. Okay, so my Windows machine has started. I will restart my beta cap. I will type beta cap minus iface eth0. Okay, I will exit once. Okay, I will type help. Okay. Now I will go to my Windows machine, and if I want to check the IP address of this Windows machine, I will go to the command prompt. Just a second. Okay. I have assigned only 2 gigabytes of RAM. That's why it's taking time. Just a second. Okay, so if I want to check the IP address of my Windows machine, I will type ipconfig, and here you can see the IPv4 address. This is my IP address of Windows machine. Just a second, I will close that. Yeah, so here you can see in the highlighted part, this is my IP address. Okay, I will go to the BetterCap and start probing my network. And if I want to see in the tabular form, I will type net.show. Here, okay, here you can see these are the devices, and this is the IP address of my target Windows machine. Now to start ARP spoof, I will navigate to the help option, and here you can see the ARP spoof is not running. And to check the options of the ARP spoof, I will type help arp.spoof. And here you can see these are the parameters of the ARP spoofing. Some of the parameters are to be set to some values so that we can start the ARP spoofing. And here you can see some commands: arp.spoof on to start the ARP spoofer, and arp.ban on to cut the internet connection of that device which we are targeting. So to start ARP spoofing, I will simply write arp.spoof dot full, just a second, set arp dot spoof dot full duplex true. It will target the router, and then I will type set arp dot spoof dot targets the target IP address, which here you can see it's 192.168.1.41. I will type 192.168. Oops. 1.41. Okay, I've set the target, and now I will simply run the ARP spoofer. So ARP dot spoof dot on. Okay, now I've started the ARP spoofing, and here I'm going to serve through internet. So actually, when I started the ARP spoofing, no immediate effect will uh, you will see no immediate effect on the target machine. But when I type arp.ban on, it will cut down the internet connection. So let me refresh this website. It's an HTTP website, and remember that this ARP spoofing works. ARP spoofing and sniffing all the part works on HTTP website. It will not work on HTTPS websites. So how to check if website is a HTTP or HTTPS? You can see here in the I button. When you click it, here it's showing be careful here. Your connection to this website isn't encrypted, so make it easier for someone to steal sensitive information like passwords. So always remember that when you trying to enter your login credentials, or prefer that it is an HTTPS website, not HTTP website. Okay, now here I will now cut down the internet connection of my target machine. So I will type arp.ban on. Now it will cut down the internet connection of my virtual machine. And now when I press Ctrl+R to reload it again, just a second. Oops, it's not. Just a second. I will again surf the internet. Yes, here you can see it's not working. Just a second. Oh, it's working. Just a second. There may be some error. Oh. I will again check my IP address of target machine. Just a second. This kind of errors will you will encounter. Don't worry about that. Just a second. Okay, the IP address is covered. I will again set the target. Targets 2.168.1. 41. Okay. Set arp dot spoof dot full duplex true. Okay, then arp dot spoof on. Forwarding is not enabled. Okay, arp dot ban off. Just a second. Okay, I will again set the targets. Okay, then spoof dot full duplex true, and then I will start the ARP spoofing. Okay, and then I will check if it's surfing. Okay, it's reloading. Okay, I will now type arp.ban on. Okay, just a second. Hope this time it works. Oops, it's not working. Just a second. I will check my command prompt. You can also try it on your mobile phone. It will work on your mobile phone also. Just a second. ARPA. Just to check my ARP table. Okay, I think it's not working right now. Oof, just a second. I will exit all the things. Clear and start BetterCap again. Okay. Duplex true. Dot targets 192.168.1.41, and then arp.spoof on. Just a second, I will type ARPA again. All right, I think now we are good to go. Okay, now if I surf on the website test PHP, I will able to do so. I haven't banned it until yet. Just a second, it will do. It will take some time. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sir,
Yes, yes, yes.
sir, can we get this video for later use?
Yes, yes, yes. Sure, sure.
My internet connection is as lasting every time.
Okay, okay, no problem. We will post this recording of this meeting. Okay, so now I will type arp.ban on. Now this time I'm hoping the internet connection will lost of this machine. Just a second. Yes. Here you can see it is showing waiting for the response. Now this time the internet connection of this virtual machine has been closed. So if you want to try it in your network, or if you want to try it your own friend's phone, friend's device, you can cut the internet connection easily by doing this. Okay. Now I will type arp.ban off. Okay, now I think ARP spoofing has stopped. Now we'll again start the ARP spoofing.
Excuse me, Aman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can just show them one example of that user credentials where, yeah,
Yes, yes,
and then
yes, yes. I'm
it's
going
all
to show it.
pretty cool.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So again, we will start the ARP spoofing, and to start that, we will first type set ARP dot full duplex ARP dot spoof dot full duplex true. Then set ARP dot spoof dot targets 192.168.1.41. Okay, now I will start my ARP spoofing. Spoof on. Now it will start my ARP spoofing. I will reload this. Here you can see we are now good to go. Okay, now I will sniff the network packets. To sniff the network packets, I will type net.sniff on, and I will go to help. Okay, just a second, I will reload this. Here you can see now it started to sniff the network packets, and now I will enter some login credentials here, the sign up part. Okay, so I will type the username 123456 and password 123456, and I press login. It's an incorrect credential. Okay, now when I go to the Kali machine, here you can see I have captured the login credentials. Here you can see here I've highlighted this uname 123456 and password 123456. So by this we can capture any login credentials the victim enters on a HTTP website by using ARP spoofing. So this is all about ARP spoofing. We learn how to install it and how to run the ARP spoofing. So you can see here we are now able to capture the login credentials. So that's about ARP spoofing, and now we'll try to detect it. I will press exit. And okay, now I will close this website. And if you want to see how to detect ARP spoofing, you have to install application. It is called XARP. Just a second. Okay, type XARP download. So
We can
here you
use
can see
this
the
for
second.
detecting our own systems, right?
We can use it to detect the ARP spoofing, but unfortunately, it cannot be prevented. So here, from here, you can download the XARP application, and I'm going to start that. Here's my application. Just a second to start. It will take some time. Okay. Okay. So here you can see my XARP is running, and it is showing that there are no ARP attacks going on, and you should have to set the security level to high. Make sure it is high. Security level is high. Uh, just a second. I will do minimal then high. Okay, so now I will start my ARP spoofer again, and we'll see the ARP spoofing if it is capturing or not. Just a second. Then set arp.spoof.targets 192.168.1.41 1.41. Okay, then arp.spoof on. Okay, now I'll go to my. Okay, so here you can see this alert dialog. It is now increasing. So here you can see the numbers are increasing. That means the ARP spoofing is going on. So here you can see this application is detecting the ARP spoofer. So you can detect the ARP spoofing, but unfortunately you can't prevent it. You can prevent it, but you have to do some network configuration, and it may be complicated. So I will advise you not to mess it up. You can detect the ARP spoofing, but you can't prevent it. So yeah, that's pretty much all about the ARP spoofing.
So we can definitely use this tool while when we share our hotspot with our friends, right? Because we'll be on the same network and we won't know if we are being traced, if we are
Yes, 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 yes,
surfing through any HTTP sites. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So make sure when using your uh, attack, you're using this attack against any machine, make sure you are in bridged mode because you need to be on the same
Yes.
network. Because if you're on the NAT network mode, you'll be like virtually assigned IPs, and that won't work. Yeah.
Yes.
So over to Saurabh now. Will be handling like the forensics part.
Okay. Thank you, Aman. That was something. Now I will be presenting my interview. Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, starting off. First, there are few topics. The first topic we'll be doing is for research and information gathering. What we'll be learning today is called steganography. It's a science used for hiding an information within a second item. Say, let it be a file or a data. We can hide it within a second file, say an image file or a JPG or a simple text files. So what it does is it simply takes that data, breaks it into bytes, and and makes it a hex format. Show you what hex formats are in the later ones, and it simply embeds this hex formats in those other files. As you can see, a simple text has been embedded in the carrier file, and now the carrier file has both the original data and the hex data of the text file. So I'll be showing you how these things are done. For this, today we'll be using a simple application called StackHide. So what we do is, if you don't have a StackHide application, you can StackHide. So what Kali Linux will do is it will install all the important libraries and the application to your system. Next thing, The best thing to learn about any application in Kali Linux is use the help command. What it does is it shows up each and every aspect of the application of this tool. Let's say what we'll be doing is say there are two files called this Brooklyn 9 and JPG file and a text say node to Jack. So what we'll be doing is first we'll be embedding this text to Jack file into the Brooklyn 9 file, and I'll show you how these things are done. So these are the different options we can use. The first one comes as embed. Obviously, it's used for embedding a second file into the primary file, and the second one is extract. What it does is, if you have a file that actually that has a second file embedded to it, it will extract that file and show you the internal content of it. So what we'll be using is embed first. The next thing in embed is a sub functions. There are functions to a functions over here. So what we are doing is using the EF sub function. What it will do is it will select a function, select a file. Let's say the second file. What we are doing is taking this node to Jack file in this EF function. Over here. So the next thing is in the command line, you need to write the name of the file. If you don't know, you can just go for here and see its node to Jack. What you need to do is write the first and press tab. What command line interface will do is it will automatically complete the entire text. You just need to press a tab. The next thing is we need to file the primary file or the cover file. Say for this we'll be using the CF function. And the cover file we're using today is Brooklyn 99. So what we'll be doing is just press tab and you'll know you'll get the entire file name. So yeah, what we are doing is we're taking the StegHide application. Next thing we are using the embed function, and what we are embedding is a node to Jack file inside a Brooklyn 99 JPG file. So yeah, what we'll be doing is next it asks for a passphrase. A passphrase is simply a password or anything you need for this. We need to, when we are typing a passphrase, it's usually not shown in the terminal. These are for the security reasons. So now this text Brooklyn 99 file, it contains two files, the node to Jack file and the Brooklyn 99 itself. Okay, so what we'll be doing is we'll be simply moving this file. I'm using the move function, move command. What it will do is it will take the just a moment. It will take the file and it will move it to my my desired destination. Just a moment. Over here. Okay. So what I did is I took the Brooklyn file and copying the file to the any location, or let's say you're sending this file to someone else. Whether it will be a secret message you're sending it to someone important. So what it will do is it has this file. Next thing we'll be learning about next thing is we have this file, but we don't know how to extract it. So the next thing is I'll show you how these files can be extracted. For this we'll be using the extract function over here. Within the extract function over here, there are some sub functions which are minus SF. What this function will do is select a file. For today we are selecting the Brooklyn file. Okay, so what we'll do is give the SF function and Brooklyn and tab. It will select it automatically. So what I did is use the extract function, and within that extract function I made use of the SF function. The SF function will simply just select the file from which we have to extract the second file. Next thing, remember we added a passphrase. So over here in the extract function, there's a option called -p. So what it over here, if we give the passphrase, let's say it was this, I added a this passphrase to the file. What it will, okay. So just a moment. Just a moment. I think there might be a problem in while embedding this file. So what we'll be doing is, oh my bad, I actually didn't change the directory. For changing the directory, what we do is just use the cd command. It's the change directory command, and use two dots. Two dots signifies a previous directory command. So now we are in the thm command over here. What it did is it extracted this file node2jack from this folder, and you can see over here that there's a file created, and it contains the secret message that was embedded within the file system. Okay, so this was the first thing we did today. So any questions regarding this application and its use? Okay, so what we'll be doing next is using a simple we'll be using the Nmap application. What Nmap does for the information gathering, of course this is an information gathering session. So what Nmap does is it's a packet sniffer or a IP address packet sniffer. What it does is if we give an IP address to this Nmap application, it will simply scan the entire IP address, or let's say this IP address belongs to a computer. It will scan the entire computer for any open ports. What ports are like simple gateways, gateways through which information is being processed and transferred from a computer system. So what it will do is it will look for any open port or any or the latest technologies used in the computer system, and it will give us a small gist of what these applications are, so that after later on we can use this knowledge for a simple exploitation of a better website. So for today, let's see, what I'll be doing is I'll be simply scanning our college website, and let me say this is just for an educational purpose, because if you don't have permissions to scan any other website, these things can be dangerous. So yeah, what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you the same. It's the same. If you don't have an nmap command, what you can do is simply app install nmap, and Kali Linux will do the rest for you. Okay, so what I'll show you is a simple gist of what this application is and what different things you can use for this application. So yeah, over here what we do is the different types of scans that this application can do is a UDP scan, TCP scans, any form of IP portal scans. So today what we'll be doing is we'll be searching for OS scans. So let's say OS scans are something like when we scan in a different IP address, we obviously need to know what operating system they run on. So we'll be using the OS command. Okay. Second, I'll be showing you this TCP command. So what TCP is, let's say if my tool or my application will simply ask for permission. For the first stage of connecting to a server is asking for permission. So what it will do is simply ask the host of the victim computer that I am connecting to you from this port. The victim computer will first check for the connection and tell the attacker that this port is open and you can connect to this application. So the next thing is it will the connection will be established. So what we'll do is use the SIG command. Next is I'll be showing you what this application is over here. So what verbose is, verbose means there are two types of scan: a regular scan and a verbose scan. What verbose scans are like, in a regular scan, this application will scan the entire IP address at once. Like it might leave some faults within this scan. So what verbose does is it will take a single port and scan it for open or close. Then it will move back to the next port. So this way, it's less chances of missing any of the open ports. So yeah, now it's this. This is all we can use, and the next thing is I'll be adding a college website to this application, and it will start its scan. It might take some time because these things take a little bit of time. So yeah, it can take some time. So yeah, the next thing what we'll be doing is until it gives us the scan, I'll be showing you a simple website. Let's say there are like plenty of websites where you can test your cybersecurity skills or get enhanced with these things. So one of these websites is TryHackMe. If you don't have an account, you can simply go to the account and website and sign up for one. The next thing is you'll be getting this type of dashboard. Okay. What you are going to do next is simply there's a profile icon. Go to the My Access session. Okay. So this is the place where we connect to the OpenVPN. Okay, I'll show you what OpenVPN is. What OpenVPN actually means is it's a virtual private network. Like there's a connection between a website and a IP, or let's say our computer. And what OpenVPN will do is it will create a simple virtual environment for these two IP addresses. Let's say I'm connecting to my TryHackMe website. So I won't be able to connect just like I'm asking and I'll connect. So I need some medium to connect it. So this medium is provided with virtual OpenVPN servers. So what these things are, it will make a channel for me and the website to transfer my data from one to another. So what we do is simply there are different servers or different ranges for where you can select the servers. We'll be sticking to the EU2 regular. What we'll do is download the my configuration file. I'll show you. It's a .ovpn file. It stands for OpenVPN. When you need to download it. Next is I'll show you over here. Where this is my OpenVPN file. It contains my virtual IP address that that will be needed to connecting to the website server. Next, what we need to do is install a simple app called OpenVPN in our Kali Linux. It's a very simple app, and if you type these commands, the app will be automatically installed in your system. Next thing what we do is give an OpenVPN connection to our system over here. So if we just a moment, okay. So So yeah, what this command does is, what we'll be doing is simply type the open VPN command and the VPN file that we downloaded just now. If we press enter, what it will do is it will establish a virtual internet network connection between my computer and the IP website. So if now I want to know the configurations of my file. So yeah, but when Aman was showing you about the better cap, he showed us about two things: the ETH0 and LAN. The next thing, if you connect to the Open VPN server, you'll be getting a TAN0 connection, and this thing is our virtual IP address that will be used. Let me show you. There's a no connection symbol, and when we refresh this setting, it shows us that our connection has been established. So yeah, what it will do is it will simply establish a normal connection between our IP address and the system. So for the time being, I don't need it. So yeah, let's get back to our Nmap scan. Okay, so there are lots of things open. So yeah, this was our previous command. Okay, so what it showed us is different types of ports that are open to our college websites. Like most of them are TCP connections, and here you can see what type of what number of ports they are used. Like 143, it is 143 for most of the time. 443 is a HTTPS port number, but now it's being converted to TCP. Over here, these are the ports. So many a time most of the ports are open and actually vulnerable, so these things can actually help us in moving on with the act of penetration testing. Okay, so you guys, I showed you a simple command over here. Do you guys, so there's a doubt? Yeah, that actually might, Aditya, that actually might make a difference, because firewalls are something that are completely connected to our system. So if you change any configuration within the network section, that might take a lead, because what it will do is, if someone is sending you a malicious, let's say if someone is sending you some malicious files over the website, and you tend to click it. So if the firewall connection is not properly configured, it won't be able to scan the system correctly, and I think it will be very bad for your system. So this was the second thing I showed you on. Next thing is called a GoBuster. It's again an information gathering tool. It's used for gathering information around subdomains of a website. But subdomains are like these many of websites have different types of web pages, and those web pages are called the subdomain to that website. So what a developer thinks is he can leak different types of information around a subdomain. So what we do is using this application. There are many tools, but I'll be showing you this application, how to use these applications to gather information around a website. So it's the same if you don't have any of the application, you can simply use this command apt install to install it into the server, because the best part of working with an open source application server is you get everything open sourced. So it helps us in understanding what they not just being a script kiddie or using this application to do our entire job. We can actually understand what these applications are and what these applications are can do. So later on we can make our own applications, or modify these applications for a better way. So yeah, I'll be showing you what this I have a GoBuster application in my software. So again, this is the actual command line system of GoBuster. There are different, there's one more application called DirBuster. If you are not very sure about using it in a terminal, you can just use DirBuster from this track down system. What Kali Linux has is a very beautiful command menu drop down. It gathers each and every application according to its use, like each application and what's its use has been gathered along with it. So these are the applications. There are hundreds of applications in Kali Linux just dedicated to penetration testing and information gathering. So yeah, today I'll be showing you what DirBuster can do. Okay, so the application we'll be testing on is test.test.php web system. It's a HTTP server, so it will be quite speedy to use. So yeah, what I'll be doing is GoBuster. The second thing is we need to select a first options. There are different types of options, like when you're using it with a vhost. A vhost is a simple IP address. Let's say you need to scan an entire IP address, then you use a vhost. Today I'll be showing you the use of dir. Dir is it stands for directory or file. What it does is it simply helps us in selecting a website name to which we have to use this application. The next thing, there are sub options, and these sub options can be accessed using the help command. You just need to use GoBuster, and there's the options and type help. You'll be getting the entire sub option menu. So these are the sub options, and I'll be showing you what is the use of these options. So I'll be showing you the URL section. Okay, this option is used for capturing the website name. So I'll be pasting it over here. Okay, the next thing is using a word list. Basically, it's a brute force attack. So what it will do is simply use a word list. What is a word list? Is a simple set of strings stored in a file. These are predominantly the basic passwords we store in our system. So in Kali Linux, there's a special section for word lists. It's mostly stored in the user directory. So these are the different word lists, and these are the different folders containing furthermore word lists. So today I'll be using the RockU word list. It's a very simple word list containing a lot amount of passwords. I'll be showing you right away. In just a moment, it might take some time. It's a very large file. Yeah, actually it's a very large file. I'll show you later. Just a moment. Yeah, so these are the different passwords or the general strings that have been stored in this file. There are like thousands and thousands of passwords, and these are basically updated passwords. RockU is an international text file that has been circulated around the world for having so many of the passwords. These are like default passwords, strong passwords, any of the passwords you have. So that's why we are told to use a very strong password. So because it's very easy to crack a password that contains a minimum number of 8 digits. So if you have a password, make sure it's more than some 8 digits. So yeah. The next thing is we'll be giving you the sub option of word list. What we have to do in this section is give the complete path of the word list we'll be using. So I'll be using the common word list. It's a very small word list, and for today's demonstration, it will be 5. The next thing is when if we press enter, it will start a scan along that website, and it will take some time for that because these things actually take a single string and matches with the subdomains of that website. So okay, so for that time being, I'll be talking about different things that are into cybersecurity. Back to our TryHackMe website. If you have got a connection, the next thing you need to do is you can go to learn and rooms. Rooms are basically conceptual topics that are made for cybersecurity to be completely mastered. Like there are topics like web, Windows, forensics. What web is, it deals with all different types of vulnerabilities and patches that are and will be found in the web application. It will help us to understand how these files can be compromised, and along with that, it helps us how to make a more secure web application. The next things are forensics. Forensics. Just a few minutes later, I showed you what steganography is. Forensics is steganography is a part of forensics, where it deals with different types of forensic applications like iOS forensics and different types of data gathering. The next thing is reverse engineering. Many a times it happens so that someone has sent you a very anonymous application and you don't know what these applications might do to your system. So what this topic shows us is how you can break those applications into simple data where you can understand what's there in the application. So these are the different rooms. I'm sorry, just a moment. Okay. Let's say I'll be using this room. By clicking on it, it will transform it to a different file. What these rooms are different types of topics that are there in cybersecurity and are taught very well. These are different things that you need to do while coming up with a cybersecurity career. So the next thing is if you may want to use these applications, you need to deploy a server. What this server will do is simply make a virtual IP address for you to test these knowledge on that server. Okay, so today I won't be able to show you the entire application of these servers. Just to go through this website and take a note of what things you need to learn about cybersecurity. Okay, so yeah. You can even add hours or terminate the system if you have completed each and every question. So these things are not just topics, they will be asking you different types of questions to enhance your knowledge. Okay, so these are the subtopics, and there are different types of questions how these things are done. Okay, so yeah, you can see that after I've been connected to the OpenVPN system. In my TryHackMe website, I've shown the virtual IP address that has been given to me. So the next thing is I'll be moving back to our scan. Oh yeah, so the scan has been completed and shows us the list of all subdomains that are in our system. So yeah, let's check this one. This might, sorry. Okay, so this one is the index file. The next thing is it's very suspicious to have an admin system. So what we can do is we can check this one. This is the way actually. Okay, so we got an actual admin section. So this is a create SQL file that has been stored in the subdomain, and that can be maliciously used by hackers to get a corrupt information about the website and even get a reverse shell to it, this website. So these are the things that can be used done using GoBusters. Okay, so you can even move to different types or different subdomains and see what there are in this application. Okay, so I talked about the different types of website. So there's an interesting thing going on on this December on TryHackMe. What this thing is, you can there's an event going on in TryHackMe for a month that that you can get along. This event is called Advent of Cyber. It's a month-long event where you'll be taught on different topics about cybersecurity, and each day you'll be given a simple task to do. If you complete all the 24 tasks along the 30 days event, you'll be awarded with a total of 13,000 worth of prize. It's completely under TryHackMe website. So what these you'll be getting gift vouchers and prize money for completing this entire web challenge. And along with that, you'll be getting some gift vouchers for different reputed examinations there are for cybersecurity. Let's say there's an OSCP examination. You'll be getting some gift vouchers and lab access permissions to this worth $5,000. Along with this, there are different types of things. Okay, so you can check this out after the conference, and you can surely get used to these things. Next thing I'll be showing you is what's the real use way you do cybersecurity. It's actually the thing is you can get somewhere. I told you about you can't go and scan any other website you want. So for that, there's an website where you are legitimate to use any scan and along with any technology you want to use for penetration testing. So yeah, this is the Bugcrowd website. Along this website, what it helps is there are different companies that need security professionals to test their websites and find different bugs and flaws in their software. So what this application does is it brings up all those websites and the companies along a simple platform and shows us what these companies want. So let's say it's SpaceX. It's a SpaceX subdomain called Starlink. So what this will do is it will what you can do is you can read along the entire application what these things wants from you, and along this section you'll get to know what different types of reward you will get after submitting these reports. You need to after conducting a penetration testing, you need to submit different types of reports to get along with the rewards, and this can help you with the they can help you with monetary fund and swags along the time. Okay, so this is what actual a small part of what cybersecurity is, and I'll be handing the mic to Nimisha from now on.
So guys, our event is like coming to an end. Does anybody have any doubts, like, or any queries? Like, you can ask anything related to this. And don't get confused that cybersecurity is only about using tools or like that, because after you know what a particular tool does, you can come up with your own code or modify the existing tools itself because we in our college are more into software developing stuff, coding, and all that. So yeah, you can switch your domains like that. So this was just a brief introduction to this wide field. So I hope you really enjoyed it and learned something very useful.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah, you're audible.
Uh, this, I haven't made it in live. How see the link for YouTube?
There's disturbance. I can't hear you. Okay, we'll be posting this recorded session. Uh, yeah, we'll be sending it to you. Don't worry about that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone with any other doubts? We have 19 people. No one? Okay, I guess then we can end the session. Thank you so much, guys.